Okay, picture this. You're maybe sitting on your couch, right? Phone in hand, deep in some game. You're definitely not in a casino. No flashing lights, no slot machines nearby. But what if I told you you might actually be gambling, spending real money for a totally uncertain outcome? Kind of surprising, huh? We're diving into those virtual currencies you see everywhere in games. You know, the ones gold coins, shiny gems, tokens, credits. They power pretty much everything. Sure, sometimes you can earn them, grind it out, but let's be real. A lot of the time, the easier way, the quicker way, is just pulling out your wallet, buying them with actual cash.
Right. And what's really fascinating, if you take a step back, is how these systems, these seemingly harmless game things, they're often built using blueprints that look a lot like traditional gambling. So our mission today in this deep dive isn't just to list virtual currencies. It's really about peeling back the layers, seeing how deep these gambling-like mechanics actually go in games, and why it's actually pretty crucial to understand this connection, especially if you play games or, if you have kids who do.
Exactly. So the big question is, how did our fun digital hangouts start looking so much like a casino floor? And what does that actually mean for how we play and how we pay?
Okay, let's unpack this. This overlap is, well, it's definitely worth exploring. Hashtag, tag the hidden casino mechanics. Let's get right into it, because this comparison, it's not exactly subtle. A lot of really popular games use mechanics that are, well, they're basically digital slot machines. Think about opening a loot box, or finding a mystery chest, or hitting that button for a random reward spin. You spend those virtual coins you maybe earned, or more likely bought, for a chance at getting something amazing, like a super rare item, a cool skin, or often you get something. Pretty forgettable, right? Does that sound familiar? That little thrill, that moment of chance, does it suddenly feel less like just playing a game and more like placing a bet? Because that whole random reward thing, it wasn't invented for video games. It's actually a core idea from like old school slot machine patents way back. So it's not just like gambling sometimes. It's often built on the exact same ideas used in Vegas. That's a really key point. If we think about the basic definition of gambling. It's staking something valuable on something uncertain, hoping for a bigger prize. And these game systems, they fit that perfectly. You're spending virtual currency, which, remember, often costs real money, on a system where you absolutely don't know the outcome. You don't know what you'll get. The developer sets the odds, and you, the player, you usually have no idea what those odds are. They're totally hidden.
Yeah, and you mentioned a study earlier about kids.
Ah, yes. The UK Gambling Commission study from 2018, it found that 31% of kids aged 11 to 16 had spent money on loot boxes.
31%. Wow. It just shows how common this is, doesn't it? Even with younger players who might not really get the whole money side of it.
Exactly. It's a transaction based purely on hope and chance. Just like spinning a roulette wheel, really. Hashtag, tag, psychological hooks and sensory rewards.
And it's not just the mechanic itself, is it? It's the whole experience around it, like those super bright, flashy animations when a loot box opens, the sparkles, the big reveal, and the sounds, those like triumphant trumpets or whatever, even if you just got junk. Makes you feel like you won something big. Then there's that feeling, that split second before it opens, your heart's kind of pounding as the box spins or the wheel slows down. It's designed to pull you right in. It's seriously persuasive stuff.
Absolutely deliberate.
Oh.
Those psychological hooks, they're identical. I mean, identical to the ones casinos have spent decades perfecting.
Yeah.
These aren't just nice graphics or sounds. They're crafted really carefully to trigger specific brain responses. They use something psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, basically unpredictable rewards.
Right.
And that makes the behavior incredibly hard to stop because you never know when the big win or even just a little satisfying win is coming.
So you keep trying.
Exactly. You keep trying. That unpredictability, plus all the sensory stuff, the lights, the sounds, it creates this powerful dopamine loop in your brain, that rush of pleasure that makes you want to chase the feeling again. It's extremely effective at keeping people engaged.
I totally remember that feeling. Trying to get that one rare card in, like a digital card game when I was younger. It's got way too much allowance, probably. Looking back, yeah, that chase, it was intense. But what are we actually winning? It's not cash dropping out, right? It's usually things like skins or weapons or cosmetic stuff. And that's where some people go, well, it's not really gambling because you don't win money.
And that's a fair point. It's a distinction.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really lessen the psychological impact or the value within the game. To the player, especially in that game's world, those items are hugely valuable. I mean, status or looking cool or maybe even getting a slight edge. They're super desirable within that context.
Right.
Sometimes they're even sold on other websites, right?
Yeah.
So the emotional investment, it can be just as strong as wanting cash. It's all about what's perceived as valuable there in that digital space.
Yeah.
And game designers, they know exactly how to leverage that.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting, isn't it? The point where that line between just playing a game and, well, gambling starts to get really blurry. It's that moment when the virtual currency, the coins, the gems, isn't just earned in the game anymore. It's when you buy it
Yeah.
with real dollars from your bank account. That's the kicker, right? Because suddenly the stakes aren't just virtual points, they're real. It's actual money. Think about it. You're playing, having fun, but you need just a few more gems for that cool loot box. The game says, oh, you could play for 5 more hours. Or
Just pay a few bucks.
exactly. For just a few dollars, get it instantly. That quick transaction, often right there in the game, it kind of normalizes spending real money for these uncertain digital things, makes it feel like just part of playing.
Yeah, and this really brings up a big question about, perception versus reality, particularly for younger players.
Mhm.
Kids might not fully grasp the value of real money yet, let alone how easily it turns into game currency. Our sources mention this really striking comparison. A kid buying a loot box in, say, a soccer game
Mm.
is getting the exact same dopamine hit, the same reinforcement pattern,
Wow.
as an adult pulling a slot machine lever in Vegas.
Ah.
The brain chemistry. Identical.
Unsettling.
It really is. The only real differences are the player's age and what they're trying to win.
Yeah.
But that prize, for the kid, it's still super valuable to them socially within their game world.
It definitely makes you stop and think, doesn't it? About your own habits, maybe, but especially about kids. Younger players are swimming in these systems constantly. Do they even have the tools to see the difference between a game feature and a financial gamble? Or to understand how those little microtransactions add up? They're just clicking a button for a chance at something cool, but using real money. Maybe without even fully registering it. Hashtag tag industry intent and long-term implications. So let's talk about the game makers, the developers, the publishers. Is this resemblance to gambling just an accident, something they didn't see coming?
Well,
The sources we looked at suggest, probably not. It seems much more intentional. It looks like game companies are deliberately designing these systems, using data, analytics, all aimed at keeping players playing longer and, let's be frank, spending more money.
that seems to be the case. Industry documents, internal memos that have come out, they talk about things like player retention, monetization funnels, even whales.
Whales, like in casino.
Exactly the same term. For the high-spending players, these systems are engineered, often very carefully. We're talking about a global market for these in-game purchases, heavily driven by these chance mechanics, worth over $100 billion a year.
100 billion.
Yeah, it's massive. And some games even use algorithms to sort of tweak the odds for individual players
Yeah.
based on how much you spend or if you've been winning or losing, just to keep you on the hook. It's not just a side effect of making a fun game. It's a core business strategy built on psychology.
That's it. Yeah, that's unsettling is the word. It really shifts it from just a game to something more like calculated influence. So if the industry knows this and designs for it, what are the bigger picture implications long term, especially for younger people?
That's where the real concern lies from many researchers and advocacy groups. Some argue quite strongly that these loot boxes, these mechanics, are essentially training wheels for future gamblers.
Training wheels, how
Yeah.
so?
Well, by conditioning players, often from a really young age, to get used to risk and anticipation and those flashy, unpredictable rewards, they basically learn to connect that cycle, uncertainty, chance, occasional big payoff, with fun. And this early conditioning, repeated over and over, can normalize gambling-like behavior. It might make actual gambling later in life seem less risky, less of a big deal. It could potentially lower the barrier to developing gambling problems down the line. It's a kind of behavioral shaping, really.
Which brings us right back to that core question we started with, doesn't it? When you look at the mechanics, the psychology, the real money involved, is it still just a game? Or is it, in some really important ways, basically a casino hiding in plain sight, but without the same rules or age limits?
The line has become incredibly blurred, almost invisible sometimes. Casinos and many video games, they're playing a very, very similar game now. They're using the same understanding of our psychology, that thrill of chance, the promise of reward, all to drive engagement and, yes, revenue. And in both places, whether you're pulling a lever or tapping a screen, the basic truth holds. The house almost always wins in the end.
That really lands, doesn't it? It's something to really sit with. Hopefully, this deep dive gives you a moment to think, to maybe look critically at your own relationship with virtual money and random rewards in games. Think about how those little purchases add up or how that fun of the random spin actually feels. And maybe even more critical, how kids, younger family members, are interacting with these really sophisticated, often unregulated systems. So, what does this all mean for you? As a player, maybe a parent, just a consumer, how might knowing about this connection change how you see the fun in gaming, especially when those digital playgrounds start reflecting the high stakes world of gambling so closely? What are the hidden costs of these seemingly harmless digital toys? And what's our role as players, as a society, in figuring this out? Definitely something to think about next time that shiny mystery box pops up asking you to take a chance.